Hey YouTube, Ed here with Jack of all trades and welcome to another video. So what are we going to do today? Today we are going to make homemade fire starters. They're so easy and cheap and simple to make, it doesn't make any sense to not make them. So let's stop talking and let's get right into the video. And welcome back. So yes, what we're going to do today is we are going to make homemade fire starters. And you're going to say to yourself, Ed, why are you making homemade fire starters when you can go to the store and you can buy these things? True, you absolutely can go to the store and buy these things, but they're kind of expensive. I mean, they're not really giving them away. Now, if you do the math, I mean, this box is a box of 12 of these lightning nuggets. It costs you about 40 cents a piece per lightning nugget to buy that box, which really in the grand scheme of things isn't all that big of a deal. But if you're the kind of person who does a lot of camping or you like to do a lot of campfires or things like that, over the course of time, that can add up. And you've probably got most of the materials laying around the house to make fire starters already. So why not just take a little bit of time and make them? It's actually kind of fun to make. And at the end of the day, it saves you a little money. And oftentimes I find my homemade fire starters work far better than the store-bought ones do. So with that, let's go ahead and let's get started. Let me show you how I make my fire starters. And as long as we're on the subject of fire starters, real quickly, if you would like me to do comparisons on a bunch of different store-bought fire starters, leave me a comment in the comment section down below, and I'll go out and I'll buy a whole bunch of fire starters and we'll do some tests on them. We'll see which ones light the easiest, we'll see which ones burn the longest, see which ones burn better in a wind if we have that kind of condition where we can do that. I'll do a whole bunch of testing and I'll see which one of these fire starters works the best. Let me give you a little bit of a spoiler. These are just glorified matches. These are not great fire starters unless you're starting a fire on an indoor fireplace, so don't go buying these. All right, let's talk about the ingredients and what you need to make fire starters. First and foremost, you need cardboard egg cartons. And cardboard is the only kind of egg carton you should use. Do not use styrofoam, do not use plastic. You need cardboard egg cartons because the egg carton needs to burn readily. The second thing that you need is you need sawdust. Now this is sawdust and wood shavings that came off of my chainsaw when I was cutting campfire wood. I like chainsaw sawdust because it is the right size and there's a bunch of chips in here. There's enough air pockets inside when I make it. When I make the fire starter, it just burns really, really well. There's enough substance there where the flame lasts a pretty long time. I really like chainsaw wood shavings. However, if you don't have a chainsaw and you're not getting wood shavings from a chainsaw or know somebody that is, any kind of sawdust will work. Preferably pine if you can do it. Pine burns really, really hot and it burns really, really fast and it does a great job of taking a flame. Pine is the best if you can. This happens to be ash, and ash works really, really well too. And I find I get a little better, longer burn time with ash. I would avoid woods like oak that are really hard to start, that don't take a flame real readily. Birch is a good one. Popple, dried popple is a really good fire starter sawdust to use. Any of those softer woods that burn readily are great woods to use. So if you know somebody that does any woodworking, or if you do any woodworking, or if you have a cabinet shop in town, a lot of times these cabinet shops will just let you come take a bin full of sawdust. This bin of sawdust will last me the rest of my lifetime. I'll never use it up making fire starters. So one tub like this will last you a very, very long time. And finally, the last thing you need is wax. Now, I went and bought this wax. I actually bought it off of Amazon. I think it's a pound of paraffin wax and it cost me $13, which is really kind of counterintuitive as to making fire starters because now I've just added cost to it. But understand, I only did it so I could make the video because I'm out of other wax. And where do I get my other wax? I usually get it for nothing. Your local churches, when they burn candles during the holiday seasons and stuff like that, they typically oftentimes only get burnt about halfway down and then they get discarded. Tell your church, don't throw away your candles. I'll take them off your hands and I'm going to use them to make fire starters or candles or whatever you're going to use them for. You can also go to your local thrift stores, and people who donate things to the thrift stores, like I have in my area, a lot of times they will get candles in their donation boxes. And sometimes those candles are like half burnt. Well, they won't sell those candles. They will only sell the candles that are brand new, or maybe just the wick got lit. But if they've burnt half the candle, they end up a lot of times discarding those candles. So I just went to my local thrift store, and I happen to know a couple of people that work there, and they save all of those candles for me. And then when they've got a bunch of them, they just call me up, and I go pick them up, and I get free candle wax that way. Also, you can get them at garage sales. A lot of times you can get a half burnt Yankee candle for like a quarter or something like that. Any place you can get free candles works, and that's where I get most of my wax. But that's the 3 ingredients you need. Now, if you have no access to wood, there are other things that you can use besides wood. Dryer lint works really, really well, and it's free. Everybody has to dry their clothes. Whether you go to a laundromat or whether you have a dryer in your own home, there's dryer lint there, and you can take that dryer lint, and that makes excellent fire starter. And that's why so many houses burn down, because they had dryer lint in their dryer vents and they never clean them out. Dryer lint is extremely flammable, and it works really, really well for fire starters. Any kind of flammable substance you can use to make these fire starters. I just prefer wood chips. All right, so we got to start getting our wax melted. So this is a pretty typical way that I do it with a water bath method. I just take and I have a shallow roaster pan here. I've got it about half full of water. This pot I have pretty much relegated just to melting wax because it's a very smooth surface and it cleans up really, really easy. And this is actually a great way to melt wax. It's very low mess, and it works extremely well, and it's pretty typical. Now, if you've got a wax melter or something like that, if you make candles, more power to you. There's 1,000 different ways that you can melt wax. This is just the way I prefer to do it because it keeps the mess down and it does a good job of melting it. So let's go ahead and let's let this wax melt, and then we can finish making our fire starters. All right, so now that we've got the wax melting, let's go ahead and let's start making the fire starter. So take your cardboard egg carton, and the first thing you're going to do is grab a scissors, and you're going to cut off this tab right here. You don't need it. You're also going to cut off the lid. You don't need that either. You don't need that either. You really only need that portion of the egg carton. So once you've got your egg carton prepared and you're ready to go there, then you just take your wood chips. I just like to take a spoon, and I'll put a spoonful of wood chips in each one of these little compartments. All right, so I have each of my little compartments here filled with sawdust. Now, there's a little trick to it. There's little dividers here. You don't want the sawdust to go over the little divider. You want it to be about level. And then there's little dividers here, and some of them are a little lower, and you really can't do anything for it, but you don't want to go much higher than that. You just want to basically fill up the little cup with sawdust. You don't want to go right to the top with it because you don't need it, and you're just wasting material at that point in time. And like I said, you just really don't need it. So when I do these, I'll typically do, for the most part, I'll do a whole bunch of these at one time. For the video, I'm only going to do one of them while the wax is melting. But I'll lay out a whole bunch of these, and then they'll last me for a year or two, and I won't have to make any for quite a while. Okay, so wax is melted, everything's ready to go. You're going to want to lay some tin foil or something down underneath it because this hot wax will seep through the cardboard and it'll stick to whatever's on the bottom side. So I always just lay a piece of tin foil down. You can actually reuse the tin foil over and over and over again. But that way it keeps the mess off your countertop. Now it's just a very simple matter of taking your wax and go ahead and pouring it into each cup. And I fill each cup till the wax just gets to the top of the wood chips, and then I stop. And I try to cover all of the top of the wood chips, or get them all wet, I should say. Not necessarily cover them, but just get them wet. And I had a little leftover wax here, so I just went ahead and filled up a little 4-hole egg carton that I had. And now it's just a matter of just simply letting them sit here and cool down until they get hardened. You can put these in the refrigerator if you want to. I just let them sit on the counter for about an hour, and then they cool down enough where you can handle them. So now we just have to let them sit here and cool down. All right, so once they've cooled and solidified, you just go ahead and you cut out each section. And you can do this a number of ways. I just use a kitchen knife. Nothing more fancy than that. But let's do a little test here, and let's see how these fire starters actually work. Now, it's a little windy out here today, but should light. So it's lit. Let's see how long it'll burn. So it's pretty much all done now. So as you can see, that gave us about 10 minutes of a good, solid, usable flame to get a fire started. Works really, really well. More than enough flame to get a good fire going. That would actually work as your tinder for starting a campfire. You could go right to the kindling step and then right to the campfire wood step after that, because that is a good, solid, usable flame. And there you have it. That's how you make fire starters. Now, I'm not going to cut these apart because they're not quite solidified in the middle yet. They're hard on the top, but in the middle they are still a little mushy. But that's basically how you make these things. Now, you can see from the demo, they produce a really nice, good, solid flame. And if you can't get a fire started with that, you've got wet wood or bigger problems, because they do produce a really nice, hot, usable flame for a very long period of time. So these are as good as any store-bought fire starter I have ever used. These are pretty natural. I mean, the wax is not very natural, but you're just using wood and cardboard. There's not a whole lot of noxious fumes or anything like that. They're just really clean burning, and I really do like these kind of fire starters. So let's go ahead and wrap this video up. Now, if you're liking this kind of content and you're liking these kind of videos, make sure you go down and hit that like and subscribe button. Make sure you ring that notification bell so you get notified of upcoming videos. I put out a new video every Saturday morning, 8 o'clock, without fail. and I will continue to do so as long as you people keep supporting the channel and you're liking what I'm doing. With that, this is Ed from Jack of All Trades. As always, thank you to my longtime subscribers. Thank you to everybody who watches these videos, and we will see you on the next video.